What's going on, everybody? It's CryptoVision here, back again with another midweek macro. So for today's video, we're going to be checking out Bitcoin, Bitcoin dominance, Ethereum, some gold, some silver, some other macro charts, get into some ideas of what's going on, possibly financial revolution per YouTube request, and just my thoughts overall on what's going on, any kind of news that's coming down from the Fed, any kind of news from the government. So if you like today's video, hit that like button, subscribe for more. Without further ado, let's get into it. So as we got Bitcoin dominance here on the weekly chart. We have successfully broken down from this trend line. We are down below every single EMA. I've seen a lot of, and I've reposted a lot of, X posts about Bitcoin dominance. Bitcoin dominance on the weekly is posting some bearish divergence. Bitcoin dominance, is extremely weak. Here's the thing that I've mentioned multiple times, right? Until we get down below the weekly, 100 and close down below that, it doesn't matter how weak Bitcoin dominance looks. I know it sucks to say, it does. This overall pattern, this right here looks bearish. Okay, if we were to inverse this, let's do this. Let's invert this, and right, you got this, right? You have an impulse. Okay, you have this impulse for sure, and you've flagged out. You've done a three-wave move, and you've broken out. Okay, that's what we want to see for all of our crypto. That's what we want to see for all of our stocks. This is exactly the pattern we want to see, right? And you enter somewhere through here, right? And then you have your stop loss down through here. Okay, that's how I would do it, right? Enter, stop loss, boom, you're good. And so what's going on right now is it's kind of stalling, right? Bitcoin will kind of drizzle up a little bit and then come back down. Altcoins will drizzle up a little bit and they'll come back down. So there's something going on with the crypto market. Okay, it's not just your favorite. It's not just your favorite crypto. It's most cryptos, right? Some cryptos are going crazy. ARC, we've covered ARC, Buttcoin. That thing has been going crazy. If you're in the Discord, you already know these, because we've been talking about these. Or AI, I've covered it a couple times. It went absolutely crazy. But these are small cap altcoins. These aren't altcoins that people even know about. Okay, so most crypto is down today, another day. But what we're seeing here is, my list of the blue chip traditional stocks that I think have value, that I invest in. I don't cover on this channel, but I think I'm going to start covering this stuff on the channels because, crypto, there's such long lulls in between, upside price action and downside price action. Right? You go up for a month, you go down for 8 months. And I'm more of I started with traditional stocks, so I'm going to start transitioning into covering traditional stocks. For my Profit Lab series, I just entered NFE. Oh, wow. This is, okay, I forgot this is inversely related. My bad. I just entered NFE. It's an energy company. The reason why I entered that, both macro and price action, we've taken out lows. We're going sideways and we're accumulating. But also, big thing is the reason why inflation. So if you're new to the channel, I talk about trueflation a lot. It's a leading indicator of what inflation will come to. This Friday, CPI is going to be released. That's the government's form of, hey, this is the official government, what we're acknowledging inflation is at. And so the one thing that is driving trueflation up is energy costs. So trueflation, I don't know how, but it went down below 1%. So, and for a period of time, inflation, was absolutely tanking, which is good for risk on assets. We're printing money. It did rise back up again. I think it's at 1.52% the last time I checked. So it rose up a little bit, and the majority of that reasoning was for energy costs. Okay, so I think because energy is booming right now, I think energy is going to start to go crazy. So I'm getting in early for energy stocks. They've kind of got sold off from the previous administration. They didn't like energy. They outsourced a lot of energy. This administration is bringing energy back. And so, things that are made in America, done in America, yes, they typically cost more, but they run more effectively. They run more efficiently. And so what you get is a better bang for your buck in the long run. Upfront costs maybe a little bit, more expensive. But overall, I think it's better to, have manufacturing jobs, have, energy producing jobs in America rather than outsourcing it. Just so you can't get, swayed, you can't get moved in either direction based on a country's stance on whether they like you or not. That's pretty much the basics of it. But all that to say, I get carried away on these macros, but that's what they're for. This isn't a dedicated. I'm just gonna touch on different assets. You can browse around, come in, come out, whatever you prefer. All right, Bitcoin dominance. So that's what we're looking for in terms of the indicators. We've been talking about Bitcoin dominance being bearish. This is bearishly postured. Right, you're grinding up with very little to no momentum. You've crossed down below your RSI level on the weekly, right? This is the weekly chart. So, it has more value when things happen. And then your Fu Manchu, yes, we did get the last 2 times we were at this level. Decent line, not too bad. We did get a green dot where we kind of pumped up a little bit, where we had a week up. This one too, we had 3 weeks up. So are we going to bounce off the? It kind of looks like we're getting ready to bounce off of the 100. If I'm being honest, all right, I gotta say it how I see it. Kind of looks like we're gonna come down through here, bounce. That would be nice, and then reject. All right, so Bitcoin might pump a little bit, maybe next week, and altcoins. I mean, it's not saying that altcoins aren't gonna pump. It's just Bitcoin might steal the show a little bit, and then maybe reject on that 50. One more time, come up through here one more time, get one more rejection, and then have a big candle. Right, when you got like 3 soldiers, when you got candles like this, when you got candles like that, it just, it's the same thing. It's just perfect. This is a perfect demonstration where you're oscillating down, where you're not really deciding, oh, okay, I'm kind of going to go down. I don't really want to go down. Oh, I'm going to go up. I don't really want to go up. Actually, I'm getting tired. Oh, I want to go down. Oh, I don't really want to go down. You know what I mean? There's not a definitive move when you're oscillating. When you get a candle though like this candle right here, you're going down. All right, you're going down. This next move is just a relief rally, and then the continuation happens. Okay, it's the same concept. So that's what I got for Bitcoin dominance. It does look weak. It is printing some bearish divergence, right? You got some higher highs up through here. So you got a higher high, right? And then you got a higher, so you got your RSIs, higher highs, but you have lower highs. Let me draw that good for you guys. All right, so you're going down. You're losing price action while you're getting stronger. So that's not that's no bueno. That's no bueno for an asset. So, and again, Bitcoin dominance isn't actually an asset that has value, but it is correlated with the crypto market. So we have to look at it like that. Bitcoin, we're still, not really doing much. Not really doing much. Down back below the 200. Pardon me. Back below the 200, back under all your EMAs. Is the 800? It is. It's just because we're on the weekly. Back under your like I said, your 200, below all your EMAs. We've been talking about a Bitcoin, at least on the last deep dive, that we're finishing up a 5th wave, possibly could be finishing a 5th wave just because of the stagnation. Now you're below your 200, doesn't look great. There is some reason to believe that Bitcoin can find another low. There is, and I think it's valid as well. You're getting more sell off. Right? You're getting more sell off. Yes, the Fu Manchu is very oversold. Yes, the RSI. You haven't been this oversold since your bear market. Okay, so it's crunch time. It's time to make a decision. And if you go down, go down. You're not going to hurt feelings of people who base price action and base investments off of structure. Right? It's not gonna. You can still go down lower. Just get the band-aid off. Get it off. If you need to go lower, and then come back up and get out of here. This whole thing of like just kind of going down slowly and maybe up a little bit, then down, then up. Right? That's what market makers do to really initiate time capitulation, because people really want to get rich quick. People really want moves to happen right now. Right now, I want it now. Where's my money? I want it now. So what market makers are doing, in my opinion, that's what they're eroding people's confidence and conviction by just keeping price down for periods of time, right? Because it's fine if it's a V shape, because you're like, oh, what happened? But when you open up your TradingView account, when you open up your Robinhood account, and you see negative still, or you see red over day in and day out, even with bullish momentum, bullish divergence. The bullish divergence didn't play out, but overall, you still are looking bullish, because even if you come down through here and you make lower lows with higher lows, that's extremely bullish. But people are getting tired. People are getting fed up with crypto. People are sick and tired of crypto. People are sick and tired of shorts getting away with billions and billions and billions and billions of shorts. And I do understand that, because logically, if you're a market maker, you do attack liquidity, and if there's billions of liquidity to the upside and you're not attacking it, it reinforces my idea that a lot of that liquidity is market makers. I do believe that market makers have shorted this market and are continuing to short the market over and over again. I don't think that's retail. I think those are market makers. Those are whales that have shorted the market. And I think they're going to have a coordinated attack. I think they're going to have a coordinated attack for the shorts that are up here that are retail. Right? I think a lot of the reason why people are saying, how can whales accumulate Bitcoin and the price doesn't go up? Well, it's simple, right? They're hedging their long with their short. They're hedging their entries down here with entries up here, right? And so what happens is, they keep piling in, whales keep accumulating, and they keep their shorts open. Right, so it keeps price suppressed. So you got like this little pump, and then it comes back down, right? So they'll add more shorts. They'll add more. And what happens is they know price isn't going to catch them off guard, because they're in cahoots with everyone else. Right? It's a corrupted system. It's corrupted. I'm not going to back down by saying that. It is corrupted. And it's the new financial revolution that people are so calling for. I am calling for a financial revolution, but I don't think in the long run, I don't think it's going to be good, because of the amount of corruption that people can get away with for an asset that's digital, right? People keep saying it's trackable, it's a trackable asset, this, that, and the other, but for some reason, there's a lot of shady business with crypto, right? Not just Bitcoin, crypto all around, right? So I won't get into that right now. Maybe a little bit deeper in the video when I go on one of my rants. But in terms of Bitcoin, I do think that it is oversold. I do think it is undervalued, right? If we use my auto fib, we're coming down through here. We're in like no man's land, right? We're in through no man's land. Okay, so we're down through oversold or overpriced action. If you guys like this type, I use this every once in a while for like my lazy. Not lazy. I use it for when I'm not putting up my fibs or when I'm not doing things like that. But overall, I'm looking for, if we're going to the daily, let me get rid of these. I just tried to clear up the charts for the viewers, especially for a brief macro overview. We don't need all of this stuff. I do have it on my premium charts. But just a clear idea of a macro. Does this look like an A, B, C? It kind of does. It kind of does. What it also looks like is, you've come down like a 1, 2, 3, 4, and now you're going to come down for a fifth. It kind of looks like both. If I'm being honest, it looks like both. It's if we just take the approach of, okay, prove me wrong, right? Prove me wrong, break out, right? If you can actually break out, then yes, then there's some validity to this ABC pattern. But until then, there's nothing convincing about this move. There's nothing convincing about this move whatsoever. You're below all your EMAs. You're oscillating. You're doing nothing. You're in a downtrend. You're right about down below your 382. So technically, yeah, you can come all the way down to 64, right? You can have like this A, B, C. Come down to 64. Come down to 62, right? 62 is about. I don't even like 62 because that's your candle is down through here. I know it's a wick up through there, but I don't like that. Right? If you close down below 64, you're going to make new lows. That's my opinion. Right? Remember, I'm not a financial advisor. This isn't financial advice. You close down below 64. That's what I'm thinking. So that's what I got for Bitcoin. You really need to close and stay above that 67. We had that 71,000 marked up for a while. So, um, you know, got to do something, but we'll leave that on there for now. DXY, we're not going to talk about the DXY. We can't talk about the DXY for financial revolution reasonings, but this thing won't die either. I want this thing to die. This is the value of the dollar. I do believe, that the Fed is being, I think the Fed is being, since the Fed is trying to undermine the current administration, I do believe that the current administration is going to, once they, announce that they have their selected representative in there and interest rates get cut, I think they're going to try to attack the Fed with Bitcoin. I do. I think they're going to try to attack the current debt with Bitcoin because we all know it. Everyone knows it. The Fed continues to print money, right, out of thin air, and then they essentially tax us on that money with interest, right? It's essentially a tax, right? Okay, we're going to tax you to print money and to use our money. It used to be the U.S. note, and now it's the Federal Reserve note. Okay, so it used to be, the dollar used to be backed by gold. So however many dollars were circulating in the United States, there was a set amount of gold for that. All right, so there was always a counterbalance to, yes, this is a piece of paper, but it has value because it's tied to gold, which is, it has actual intrinsic value because there's a limited supply. We're not even going to get into Fort Knox and if we even have any more gold left, because that's another thing where, people in power that, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if there's any gold there. I'm not sure. There was supposed to be an audit, and that nothing came about that. So, swept under the rug with a lot of things that the elites of this world tend to do is, the smoke and mirrors aspect of when people get close to, the idea of, okay, maybe there is something going on. Boom, a world event happens, or a headline is released, or this or that, and it kind of shifts the focus from uncovering what's going on in the world to something that's minuscule, something that is planned and coordinated, so it can end at any moment when the people's interests start to die down. Okay, so kings and queens can't rule without the imitation of power. So kings and queens back in the day, there wasn't that they were more intelligent. It wasn't that they offered anything worth more than a peasant. It's just there was an idea that they were powerful, and that's what I think is going on right now. It's the war of information, the war of I want to say the war of deceit, right? So using deceit. Using clever tactics to prop up individuals to think that they're, worth more, they're more valuable, when in reality they're corrupted individuals. And I'm talking about the government. I'm talking about people of high power, certain billionaires, certain people that like to, travel to certain areas with their fellow comrades or comrades or whatever you say, and do things that I can't even think about, talking about on YouTube. But, in terms of the DXY and the Fed, I think that is related. I think the DXY, I think the current administration wants to kill this thing. This isn't an actual, $1 is worth $97 now. No, a dollar now is worth, I don't even know what it is anymore. I don't even know what it's worth anymore. Maybe it's worth 50 cents. Maybe it's worth 30 cents, 20 cents. To what it's actually used to worth, it's almost worthless, right? You gotta make more to, it's not even you have to make more, you have to have your money work for you, or you're just gonna lose money to inflation and to the consumer bias of buying things, and everything gets more expensive. But yeah, the DXY is measured against precious metals, traditional stocks, things of that nature, and it is looking like it wants to close back above this 97.55 we've had for a while. It's kind of been just going sideways since really June, even down through here, kind of wicked down in April, really just going sideways. Not really doing anything, so kind of going sideways, not doing much. Ethereum, this is a good thing for Ethereum. I mean, we had the idea where, now you're in a, let me get something on through here. You're in like some type of, 1, 2 with like an expanded flat type, right? 1, 2, 1, 2, right? You're in like a 3, 4, 5, something like that now. You have to be like that now because of structure. You have to be like that now because of structure. So this is closed down below this, right? So you have a closed down below, lower. Okay, we all can see that. And so now you can't have the idea of a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 because your 4 can't close down below your 1 termination point. I'm not going to say this is a 1, 2. That's not a 1, 2. I don't think that's a 1, 2. You can fit the narrative of anything. You can find ways to fit your idea, but I'm too old to be that prideful. I guess you can't teach an old dog new tricks, but one thing that I've learned is learning to admit when you're wrong, or learning to just say, you know what, something isn't working out is totally fine. It is a-okay. And so, you got this 1, 2, you got that 3, you got this 4, and then you got that 5. Truncated fifth, not a very nice fifth. That's why Ethereum holders are so pissed off, because really didn't hit any new all-time highs, relative to other assets. And Ethereum's kind of gotten screwed. Ethereum holders are screwed. I was an Ethereum holder. Thank goodness I bought at 27. I bought like right through here, and I did get out. Thank goodness I got out. I just wasn't very convinced of it. In my idea, I saw XRP and I saw XLM and I saw other assets that were cheaper, faster, more adopted worldwide, and I said, I don't like Ethereum. It costs too much. There's the return on investment and risk just isn't there. Maybe Ethereum goes crazy. Maybe it does. I'm not saying Ethereum isn't going to make new all-time highs. I think it will, but in terms of return on investment and just risk, I don't know. I'm not sold on Ethereum. People still like Ethereum. You almost have like a shoulder, head, shoulder. So you would need to come down through here. You would need to come down through, 1500. So Ethereum looks like it wants to go lower too. A lot of things look like they want to go lower. As you tank and you don't do anything, it just leaves room to go lower. That's the matter of the fact. That's the fact of the matter. Yes, maybe next week, like we had here, we had a doji and then we start reversing, but pretty grim outlook so far on crypto. That's why I'm kind of going to start just to get back into my traditional stocks, my stonks. And, I have good entries for crypto. I'm managing my risk. I'm getting out on certain pumps, Jasmine, Degen, things like that, and, reinvesting. And so, but I'm going to start to, it's just, I'm not over crypto. It's just boring. Right? It's really boring, especially when you're trying to, make videos and have to talk about things. It's boring in the fact that nothing's really going on, and it hasn't been really going on for a while. So, spam risk. I do want to get into others real quick. I'm already jagging on. So, we do have the idea where, others had a 1, 2, 3. This whole thing was you have like your A, B, and then you come down into C, 3 or move on your C, a complex correction. You could say that this is a 4th and this is a 5th. You could say that. You really could. I don't see why you couldn't say that's a 4th and a 5th, and then you're coming down in an A, B, C. So you have your 1, 2, which is totally fine, which is all good. You're closing down, above your termination point. So either one is fine. There's no wrong. I mean, there obviously is a wrong one, but for my idea, it doesn't matter. You're still above you're still working on this trend line. You're still at relative lows. But the big question is, you got this 1, 2. Are you going to come up one more time in a 3-way move, attack that, then come down, take that out, and then go up? All right, there's just a lot of it's a lot of uncertainty, because realistically this could be an A wave. That could be your A. And you come up in a B, and then you come back down in a C, and you come down through here and you close, and you take out these lows. and then you restart, and then you go and you break out on the fourth wave. All right, that's another possibility. But either way, I do expect a retracement. I don't know if this is going to break out or not. You know, I'm unconvinced right now that crypto is going to make the next move because there's just so much manipulation going on. There's too much money involved, and market makers are going to come up through here and be like, you know what, tank it, and they're just going to tank it, and that's the way the cookie crumbles for this asset class. And that's kind of why it's getting kind of old, is because I've been in the game for quite a while for crypto, and now I really see, especially after October 10th, I really see what's going on. Is, yes, banks are trying to get a hold of as much crypto as possible. Market makers are trying to make as much money as possible. And that just makes for an ugly game for people in between, because, banks are trying to short the market and get as much assets as they can. And, the exchanges need liquidity. And so they'll pump up the markets every once in a while to get some false breakouts, to get a bunch of longs to enter. Because, let's be real, shorts really aren't getting liquidated. They get liquidated once every 3 to 4 weeks. Longs get liquidated every day. I see it every day. Longs until they stop, I don't think crypto will really move. Longs can't. People are just keep trying to make up for their losses over and over and over and over and over and over again. And it is sad because people are losing everything, and that's why I don't use leverage at all. Never will, never have, never will. So, in terms of the Russell 2000, we did get above this 2633 level on the weekly. You've had some bearish divergences on the weekly. You have bearish divergence on the weekly chart too. So, Russell needs to break out, or it's going to be a rough couple of weeks. So this administration that keeps promising a golden age, I think they need to step up their game and figure out what they're doing, because you can't say the markets are the best they've ever been, 401ks are the best they've ever been, when they're not, right? They're not, and that's just politicians being politicians, selective wording, word salads. They pick and choose aspects to highlight, areas to ignore, to make themselves sound smarter and sound more valuable than they really are. Let's just call it as it is. But the Russell, it is having some bearish divergence. This kind of does look bearish when you're looking at price action. It's kind of just grinding up. All right, it's kind of just grinding up. Sorry for my terrible drawings, but you get the idea. It's coming up in this channel. Yes, you are above your EMAs, so you have a lot of support to the downside if you fall. But it wouldn't surprise me if you come down and reset, and then come up, right? But then you leave room for you come down like this, and then are you going to come up for another correction, for a complex correction, for an ABC? That's the thing with corrections, is they get so complex. It's hard to really figure out what's going on, and that's why early take profit levels. That's what I do, and stop loss levels to ensure that your portfolio is protected. So, in terms of silver and gold, I've got some levels here on silver and gold. I'm expecting silver to retrace at least to that $54 range. I'm expecting it in a three-wave move. So you kind of have this A. I would expect a B wave, maybe coming back up to that 88 to 92 range, and then come back down to that 54 all the way to 51. Back test this local high right through here, right there. Back test. And then continue on, right? I don't think the bull run is over for precious metals. I just think it's taking a break. It's going to take a little break for a little bit, especially because it did have a bunch of bearish divergence. Look at all this bearish divergence. You got lower highs in RSI. You got higher highs in price. You're losing momentum. This stochastic on the Fu Manchu has absolutely just tanked very quickly, which is good. You do want to get, if you are going to get sold off, do it quick. Just get the band-aid off, and then you can regroup and recover. If we have the auto fib chart, if we're having this, yes, you are still overbought. You're still overvalued. It is silver though. So once we get down through here, down to that 51 area, 50, then you're looking at some fair value, and then gold is the best. So just in case you guys don't know how this works, this is best value. This is good value, fair value, expensive, overpriced. Get out. Get out while you can. Get out while you can. Like, just, if that's the way that, and people, they'll use something like this, but there's not actual levels in there. So I'll incorporate levels as well. So this is probably something I'll be using moving forward. If you like that, I'll incorporate it. I do like the levels that I put out too, because I can come back and take accountability and be like, hey, I called this level, it didn't hit it. That's my bad. I need to be better. Or I called this level, it hit it. I did pretty well. That's why you sub to the channel. No, I'm just playing, but you know what I mean. I just like coming back and for myself to get better. I like to see what I'm made of and if I'm getting better or worse. All right. Total 3. We'll get into total 3. Total right now is it's similar to this, but total 3 does look better. It looks healthier, and it kind of goes along with the idea that Bitcoin just isn't it right now. Bitcoin isn't it right now. It's not too hot. Stablecoin dominance is still looking strong as ever, but total 3, we're at the most oversold areas. We're getting this bounce. Typically, when you get a bounce like this, you do get one more little low. Something like that. Like, I know you came up through here, but you did get another low. See how you got another low? So, are we going to get this slight bounce and then one more low? That would line up with the Ethereum going lower, because Ethereum does, contribute to this a lot. I did cover XRP. I did a deep dive on XRP, so if you're interested in that, even if you don't hold XRP, I think it's good to know what these large caps are doing, because they have such a large impact on the overall crypto space. And so I do think XRP, XLM, they're in a decision point. Either we're going to continue to the 5th wave to the downside, or we got to get out of here. There's no in between. There's no in between at this point. You gotta figure out your base and your foundation, or you're just going to keep going down, and especially if there's nobody buying anymore. And I don't think there really is a lot of people buying. I'm going to be buying on this next on this next dip, and adding to my portfolio, because I'm buying cheap, I'm selling expensive. That's buy low, sell high. It's the best thing you can do. So in terms of the idea that the total 3 chart is done selling off, I'm not sold on that yet. I'm not sold on that yet until you get above some EMAs. Until you can find some support on an EMA, then your structure supports it. Yes, are we technically still valid on what we're doing right now? I mean, if you close down below this, not really, but I mean, this does look like a 3-wave move. It's pretty ugly. It is ugly. You want something like this for continuation. You don't want something like this for come down, come up, and then come back down like this, unless you can get out of here and start making some moves, right? So let's do through here, something like this. I just want to see the closes. Can you close a day above? I don't care about the wicks. I mean, I just don't, especially with crypto. It's so there's so many fake outs here and there. I want to see whether or not you're freaking closing. I mean, yeah, you're coming down to a point once again. I mean, you could use this wick right through there. I guess you could. I just want to make it so it actually makes sense. Yeah, we'll do that. Little fake outs, but overall, that's so good because you did that. Boom, boom. So what is today? Is today Wednesday? So by Thursday, figure it out. We have pumped on Friday the last 2 weeks. You pumped Friday. You did crash for the next 6 days, 5 days, whatever. And then you pump Friday, Saturday again. But that's not. We need big candles. We can't do these small, tiny candles that don't really make anybody happy. In terms of stablecoin dominance, you got a green dot on stablecoin dominance for the daily. It's not something you really want to see anymore. But this chart could look extremely bearish and it'll rip to the upside. It'll look extremely bullish, and obviously it'll rip to the upside. This, if we're thinking, this almost looks identical. Almost looks identical to total 3. Am I right or am I wrong? Right? Am I right or am I wrong? And the only difference is this has impulse down and then it did it. So you You want something that comes like that? It looks like it wants it, but I can't determine whether what crypto wants anymore. I really can't. It's just, it's the significant other that is never happy, or your cousin that you talk to once a year that is always upset about something. It's just you can't get a good read on them. Right? You can't get a good read on it. So we're gonna do that. We're gonna see what plays out to that. I'm gonna follow up all of these with the Discord. It does look bearish. It does look bearish, but that doesn't mean anything. This chart has looked bearish so many times for it just to break out and to disrespect everybody. So I'm not crossing my fingers. I'm not holding my breath. Until you get down below some of these EMAs and start breaking down. It does look toppy. I will say it does look toppy. It looks like, in terms of price, you've come up to. Are you going to break all-time highs or don't? All right, what are we doing up here? Are we just going to sit up here and hang out? Because that's not how it's supposed to work. If you reject previous all-time highs, you're supposed to reject. You're supposed to reject. But we all know that market makers are using this chart to absolutely obliterate everybody. So, looking forward to seeing whether or not this chart can, start to be toppy and start to reverse, or if we're looking at another couple weeks of upside action. So last but not least, we're looking at gold. I'm going to take this off. Gold has looked stronger than silver, but it also hasn't moved like silver, not to the extent. I'm still looking for gold to come back down to this 4,600 level, right, for a nice A, B, and then come back down to 31. And still continue. This 31 level, you're still up, tons. You're still up tons, and then from there, you have a nice reset, nice fourth wave, and then you can come up through here and come up and get your fifth, 5, 6, 7, something up through there. If we throw on the auto fib, extremely overbought, right? Not an area where people should be entering, in my opinion. Maybe if you're shorting, maybe if you're scalping and getting in and getting out, very dangerous, very, very dangerous. Right, just overpriced right now. So maybe when you come down through here, this 31 is that no man's land, right? So you have like this A, right? So you have like an A, B, and then some type of C, some type of A, B, C. That'd get you into some fair value, not like a good price. I don't think you can really, after a large pump, I think it's hard to get good prices on strong assets. I think it's hard to get these prices because they're not going to, market makers aren't going to let you get into good assets, the assets that are still in a bull run, assets that are still, not that are in a bull run, but that hold value against sell side pressure long term. Something like gold, it's not going away, right? Gold isn't going to zero. No one's worried about gold going to zero. So people they're not going to let you come down here and get $2,000 an ounce or whatever it is. It is an ounce, right? Something like that. So, right, you have that bearish divergence. You technically have more bearish divergence, right? These are high. It's a higher close. Close is 50.38. Close is 49.82. So you have more bearish divergence forming. You are losing momentum, right? You got like this 1, 2, kind of like 2 drives to the high. Maybe you get one more drive to the high, one more maybe, and then you come down. I don't know, but I'm expecting the precious metals to sell off a little bit, take a break, take a breather. I'm not saying it's going to rotate into crypto because that's left to be seen, but I am thinking that crypto gets liquidity. I don't know if it's from precious metals. I don't know. I'm not going to make that claim because it's everywhere. I'm not going to just parrot what everyone is saying. When people enter crypto, it's because structure will show that it's bottoming. It's going to show some strength. I think a lot of people are going to wait for strength for crypto. I think they're going to wait on a 1-2 setup. I think people are done with the fake pump and dumps. All right, I think they're done with that. I'm for sure done with that. green candles now, it's like, whatever, it's going to retrace, right? And during my Profit Lab series, that's what I've kind of talked about is, yeah, I'm taking early profits on the Profit Lab series, tight stop losses, really tight stop losses, just to protect any kind of gains, because there isn't, I mean, for most cryptos, you go up 50% in a day and then you're back down, you drop 75%. Right, so you give up those gains and then some more. So they, market makers are definitely looking to extract as much money from bulls as possible, and that's what typically happens at the bottom of a market. Right, they're trying to just keep weeding bulls out over and over and over and over and over again until there's no one left. They hop in, remove their stop losses on their shorts. Price goes up quickly. Then people have to FOMO in, and then they're extra pissed because they not only did they get stopped out, lose money on the market maker's liquidity grab, then they have to buy in at prices where they're pissed off at buying because they don't want to do spot and hold. They want to get rich quick. So sorry if you use leverage. I just, that's my take on leverage is get rich quick, high risk, high reward. That's just not what I do. But I respect it. If you guys are staying in there, I respect it. So in terms of tomorrow's deep dive, I'm not sure what I'm going to do for tomorrow. If you're interested in joining the free Discord, it'll be linked in the description. As always, I thank you for your time. I thank you for stopping by. If you're interested in that Profit Lab series, trading view indicators, updated chart request, things of that nature, I also offer a paid Patreon membership. So thank you for your support. Thank you for stopping by. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, hit that like, hit that subscribe button. As always, take it easy. Peace.